one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. How about a roll call, please?
Renee Fortis.
Here.
Mike Dixon.
Here.
Dan Myers.
Here.
Anita Saracita.
Here.
Pamela Cronin. Tony Lappy.
Here.
Colleen DeCoswell.
Here.
Robert Wells.
Here.
Jeff Webb.
Here.
Commissioner Frank Mann and Joe Rodriguez are excused.
Thank you. Before we get started, first of all, for the members, we have a new system here, and I guess it's very, very sensitive, as you can hear, just with my finger. So I guess all you have to do is kind of whisper into these things. All wireless, all new cameras, so I guess we have to be on our best behavior.
Mr. Chair, the other thing to note is that these mics are hot all the time today. Next meeting, that'll change. But, so, be careful. I couldn't think of a more correct way to say it. You know.
Someone joining us today is the Assistant County Manager, Glenn Salyer. Do I pronounce that? Salyer?
Yes, sir.
And he's going to be joining us from now on. You want to say anything, introduce yourself? Or?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to say honored to be here. Look forward to working with you, and I know we intend to get around and meet individually with folks as time allows, so thank you.
Well, Christine, I think you have some presentations to do for us this morning, so it's all yours.
Yes, I do. Good morning. Thank you, Amanda. Hello. Thank you. Okay. Good morning, everybody. As always, I am thrilled to be here, and I think sometimes people think, wow, another one of these sessions, but it is so worth it, and I'm so proud of the folks that are here. Look at all these faces. Can you believe it? We have since last, actually, we should probably, so sorry, get that slide up there. Since last December, we have had 61 new graduates with their CGSP. Yay! And for those of you that may be new, again, that's a certified guest service professional, and they must attend all of our guest first sessions before they can become eligible to take the exam. And the exam is part of the American Hotel and Lodging Educational Institute's process, or again, it's their certification exam. So excited to be here, and I do want to mention real quickly that I am not the Lone Ranger. I know that I am often the voice of Guest First, but with Liz Linares, who has been training with me now for a year, yay. And Emily Sosa, who doesn't make it to a lot of these meetings, but she sets up the registration, gets the host properties together, and does so much of the behind-the-scenes work. So really, we're a team, and I just want to thank everybody for that. So we're absolutely thrilled to be here. And I just want to show off. These are all of the classes. Again, there were 61, and I think we have almost 40 people that were able to be here today to receive their pin. So super excited about that. So without any further hesitation, what we have done now is made sure that you know what property each person is with, so that you can kind of tie all that together to see where these folks are coming from all over our community, because obviously service is critical to the success of tourism in our area. So the ones that are grayed out are the ones that told us they couldn't be here today, but I still think that they deserve to have their names read off, so I'm just going to go through this list. And obviously, if you are here today in the audience, if you would come up, and you will receive your certificate and your pin, and Tam and Renee, if you wouldn't mind coming up to shake everybody's hands and give them a congratulations, that would be awesome. So this is like your quick moment. This is what you wait for, like when you get married, you know, and then the wedding day is over and you get to go. So, all right. So, without any further hesitation, Daniel Olds, Joseph Termini, Mike Bowe, Julie Weinberg, Victoria Mancha, coming up from the back? Okay. I want to get caught up here. Mary Hagman? Dana Rako? Woohoo! We have cheering sections. Holly Vetter? Rachel Rainbow? Jennifer Ott? Fred Yackel? And Vicki Yackel? Thank you. Portia Pace, Rebecca Barbosa, Samantha Cornelia, Dana Faust, Cesar Marino, Sue Robbins, Robin Valenti, either one of them, Angie Milliken, Kim Hosshurst, Suzanne Smith, Aaron Cope, Marcella Doyle, Sharon Smith. Okay, now these are some folks I might know. Judy Durant. Oh, you gotta love it. Terry Cross. Woohoo! Berta Maldonado. Kathleen Stowe. Woohoo! Anna Stone. Vi Weiss. Woohoo! Not that we're partial to VCB folks. Okay, Jill Brown. Jim Berger. Patricia, hi Jim. Patricia Downey. Okay. Brittany Hill. Maria Adams. Oh. George Cardenas. Oh, Dallas Gonzalez. Oh, Nikki Johnson, Glenda Ludwig. Shannon Poole. Meredith Rizzo. I love it when there's a cheering sections. Joss Sprague.
Just want to thank my mom and dad.
Okay, that pink shell bunch, let's just say that, you know. Michael Zachman, are you here? Yes, you are. Cindy Hessling. Okay, we know the Red Coconut folks couldn't be here, but Nick, Richard, and Chris. From Resort Sports, do we have Rhonda Rignon? Yay! Debbie Rignon. And Alexa Stevenson. Woo, I didn't even see you guys. Hello. How are you? Scott Stafford. Wait, Safford, so sorry. It's my eyeballs. And, of course, from South Seas, we have Travis Gale. Woo! Who brought me salt and pepper shakers from Jamaica today, so thank you very much. Oh, that might not be allowed. Sunsplash, Tamara Duran. And then we have Lynn Enklem. Okay, awesome. And the one and only Todd Reed. That was embarrassing, wasn't it? Bridget Toller, who couldn't be here today, and Deanne Serwin, who's with Waxahachie. Not sure if you're here. Okay, and then we're just going to go with Andy C., because I could never pronounce his last name, and Cheryl Lowry. Did we get everybody? Yay. Thank you all so much. I'm so proud of you, and we will see you at the next class on generational differences.
Well, congratulations to everybody, and well done, Christine. Okay, next item, the approval of the February 2016 minutes. There was one slight change in the draft. And for council's information, you can take a look at it with the copies on your desk. It was just some comments regarding the last work session when we had the, I guess,
Motion
Roger,
to approve,
you had that work
changes
session,
made.
did you not?
Yes.
But if you want to take a quick look at that, and when you're content, if someone give me a motion to accept the minutes?
Second.
I heard a motion, a second. Any objections? Motion passes. Public to be heard. Anyone from the public that wishes to be heard before the TDC? Seeing none, we'll move to municipalities to be heard. Anyone from municipality? Judy?
Judy Zmarma, City Manager of Sanibel. Just very quickly, wanted to thank the TDC for all the assistance this past year during season, particularly in January when we received those extraordinary rains and the very quick response. We really appreciate the partnership we've established over the years with the VCP, and thank you very much. And second, we had 2 more graduates today in the course that are city employees, and as an employer and as a city that we consider customer service one of the keystones of the quality of life we offer not only to the citizens of Sanibel but the visitors. We just want to thank you for offering this program. Our employees have provided excellent feedback. It's a very economical way to get some excellent training in one of the key services that we provide. So thank you very much for offering that and including the cities as a possible recipient.
Thank you, Judy. Any other municipalities to be heard?
Scott Baker, Town of Fort Myers Beach Public Works Director with
Rexanne Hossafrost, Town Council Member. I'm his bodyguard.
The Town of Fort Myers Beach would like to change one of our line items we asked for this year that we got approved for. It was the bay and beach improvements. It was about a $400,000 request. We would like to change it to, we had like 3 locations, I believe. We want to change it down to 1 to a Hercules dock replacement. It's a great location. The location is about mid-island of our town. It would be a good stopping point for the Calusa Blue Way kayak and canoeing area. On that line item, we asked for about $400,000 to do this work. We're going to change it down. The actual Hercules dock, the one we were requesting to change it to, is only a $91,000 project. The Lee County Ordinance 1314 does allow for fishing piers. This is an area that's open to the public. It is on public property. The beach is a very good walking community. Hercules is not that long of a street. At the Gulf side of Hercules, there's ample parking that we could have signage directing them down to the actual pier itself. I have some handouts here if the board here would like to look at them. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Scott.
If no one has any questions for Scott, I just wanted to chime in that somehow I became the point person on this for the beach. I want to let you all know that I have been contacted by many members of the public, citizens as well as visitors to the beach about this area. There was a dock there. It is not there any longer. They miss it. They would use it. There is parking within close range of this area to use this dock, and I just wanted to be here to support Scott and let you know that there is public support for this dock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public or municipalities rather to be heard? Seeing none, all right. Let's move on to the report from the executive director.
Good morning, and it's strange not to have to move the mic closer to my face to talk to you, but I'm happy to do that. We're going to get used to these new mics for sure. Let's start off with the bed tax collection report. Because we did not meet in March, I'm going to give you both January and February numbers. Collections for January were up 4.5%, and collections for February were up 2.9%. We have the STAR report as well. Let me share that with you, both January and February. You will see in both January and February, occupancy was down. However, ADR was up. In January, occupancy was down 3.8%. ADR was up 7.5%, and RevPAR was up 3.5%. For February, occupancy was down 6.8%. ADR was up 6.6%. For RevPAR, decline of 0.7%. And I think it's important that we take a look at the TDC, the STAR numbers for the entire state, especially when you look at February. I think we're all a little bit shocked to see that 6.8% decline, although given all the conditions up north with weather, some of the conditions we had here with rain, cold weather, and of course the lake releases impacting the water, it's not quite as surprising. But I think it's important to put it in context. When I look at our other colleagues around the state, other areas also saw a decline in occupancy. Pinellas was down 5.2%, Manatee down 4.6%, Collier down 8.5%, Monroe down 8%, Miami-Dade down 4.2%, Broward down 6%. I think you're seeing a trend across the state that there was definitely a dip in occupancy in February. Fortunate for us, I think we had the strongest increase in ADR in February when you look at the competitive set. So therefore, there was not as much of a negative impact for us as some of the other communities. For the state, the average decrease in occupancy was 2.8%. This is state average. ADR was up 2% for a 0.9% decrease. So that's for February. I wanted to put it in context for you. So I think we have a tendency to sometimes look only at ourselves, but it's important to put it in the context of the bigger picture.
So I guess I have to ask, because we knew, listening to hotels talk about February, that they were down.
Sure.
I mean, that was conversation. I think we, as a community, put a lot of that on to the water quality issues and the press it was getting and those things. But if the whole state was down, that's got to be a combination of many things. I'm just surprised that I thought, of course, sometimes we think we're an island, but I'm surprised that we were not the only ones down.
Correct. And I think we all thought that. And literally when I got these numbers, I said, it's going to be hard to say that all of this was related to the water quality issue, that definitely there were other factors going on. And we talked about them at the time. Remember, we had two of the best winters we have had on record the last two winters. I will remind you that bed tax last January was up 36.5%, and in February it was up 28.7%, I believe. So you got to put that in context. It wasn't as cold. They didn't need to escape the same way they did. They didn't need to escape for as long. Maybe, I told you last year I thought they lengthened their trips. We saw a lengthening of trips because it was so cold. They were just, I'm not going back up north, or I'm going to stay an extra week this year, or whatever they did. They didn't have that same need with the weather change this year. So I think that's some of it. Some of it is, in my personal opinion, is, it's a presidential election year and economies are rocky. Always in a presidential election year, consumer confidence is affected, and we know tourism is tied directly to consumer confidence. And of course, we had the Zika virus announcement. I mean, there were a lot of things going on at that time. And you'll remember at our February meeting, we talked about it was a perfect storm, literally, figuratively, a perfect storm. So I think you had a lot of factors that play in there, but I think it's just important that when we talk about this, we do talk about it in the context of some of those other things that are going on, and we look at ourselves in comparison. I mean, you know, I can remember a time when we were talking about 5% increases to bed tax, and we were jumping for joy. We have gotten really, really spoiled the last few years. I mean, both months were up in terms of bed tax collection, which means our hotels may not have profited the way they hoped they were going to during that time frame, but they did profit. So I think, you know, we're just seeing some of the repercussions of it not being quite what we had the last 2 years. And maybe you guys have some thoughts on that as well relative to your businesses. But
I mean, I think you hit on the points very well. I think the other issues too are, you know, this oil issue is a problem. Much of the country that relies on oil, with the barrel prices being so low, have really kind of crashed. Houston market, Pennsylvania, North Dakota. And that has affected, I think, the nation in general. You know, you talk about the Canadian dollar dipping, the Brazilian market. I mean, there's a lot of things going on. We're also at kind of the peak of, you know, economies are 8-year cycles, and we're kind of at that peak again. We've had so many gains. And I know, talking to a lot of lenders and bankers and such of that they're starting to tighten their drawstrings a little bit, anticipating a slight correction. So whether we're on that correction this year or next year, this is all kind of adding up. And I think that this election year is also a very strange, yet overall entertaining. But I think that's getting people off. So I think there's a combination of everything, and we just saw the environmental impacts down here too that kind of scared people away. And I think we just need to be cognizant concerning these environmental issues with Zika and with the water issues, that how will the guests perceive us for next year? And I think that's really the concern that we really need to be focused on, is what are we going to do? What have you done for me lately type of thing, but what are we going to do next year? Because there's a lot of people that don't want to come back. And so we need to really look into that.
This was the first year ever in 30 years of business that I got emails and letters from people who told me they would not return to Fort Myers Beach. Whether it was the water, the traffic, the road construction, any number of a thing, but I probably have 20 letters and emails from people. It was gut-wrenching. I would also tell you that in my stores, the curious thing I noticed was I have my $250 customer intact, and then I have customers who are shopping the sale rack. But my customers who come in and buy, you know, a $100 dress, no. It was Fran. Of course, I have Fran. And I have Roxanne, but Roxanne gets the family discount, so she doesn't count either. But it's just odd. And I think the presidential election, we had a town election. There's just that angst out there that made people cautious.
But I think it's important to show, though, at the end of that, the number's still up.
Yep.
I mean, you know, and that's just to the strength of the product, the strength of the marketing effort, the strength of the delivery of customer service that you're providing in your business. And, you know, I think I told you coming into this year, it's going to be a different year than the years we've had the last couple of years. And we needed to be ready for that, and I think we're seeing it. Now, I will say, and you know, you can nod or maybe perhaps, I heard anecdotal evidence that March was better, and that, you know, it was not the same challenges that you faced in January and February. But, you know, again, that's anecdotal evidence. Until we see the data, it's tough to confirm that. But, you know,
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to just offer some very gentle, constructive criticism. We can become our own worst enemy when these things happen, and when people start claiming that the sky is falling, that's what's going to get reported, and that's what happened. When we knew that it was lots of factors that were affecting our tourism numbers, and so for the future, I just hope people will remember that, you know, it's never one event, hardly ever, that causes a dip in numbers or a change in the way we conduct business. It would have to be pretty catastrophic for that to happen. And what happened in January was not catastrophic. No one event caused the decline in room nights. So just a gentle caution.
In January, we also set a record for rainfall, I think, in recent history.
Right.
People are weather watchers. They watch that too. Good comment.
I will, yes, thank you. Quickly, the airport numbers, both for January and February, were very strong, so I think it's important to put that in context, too. Now, in fairness, not everybody who comes through the airport is a visitor. There are those of us who travel ourselves. Obviously, we have our seasonal residents that travel, et cetera, but I think, looking at the strength of the airport numbers is also very encouraging. A 7.5% increase for January and a 9.2% increase for February. So, I remember this, Rob, when we were entering the recession, you say, these numbers are all over the map. None of them, they don't all line up perfectly, but it's because there are a lot of factors that weigh into each one of those numbers, but we use all of this data to help us make good decisions. I have two items I want to share with you in addition. First, I know we've sent this out electronically to all industry partners, but also at your place, and I know there are a lot of things at your place. Apologize for that, but there is a press release from the U.S. Small Business Administration. They have made available small business loans for businesses that were impacted by, in Florida, affected by excessive rains, flooding, and the water releases. So for those of you who may be interested in that, the details on that are on that press release. Again, we've sent this out electronically to our industry partners. I just wanted to publicly remind everyone that option was available to them. And I have a few extra copies of this if anybody in the audience would like one. We're happy to share that. And then also, just a housekeeping thing. As you know, part of the county process is every 5 years we bid or put out on the street an RFP for our advertising contract. And that advertising RFP is out on the street. I just wanted to make you aware of that. It's a process we go through, good government, and so just wanted to make you aware in case anyone asked you about it, that yes, it is posted, and we are awaiting the proposals. They open in about a month.
So what is that for next year's?
Would be for next year's budget cycle, yes.
2017.
Correct. Correct. Now I will ask Pamela Johnson to come up and Stephanie Zinke. They're going to jointly give you the international sales report.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. This morning, Stephanie and I will give you an update on our international marketing efforts. Back in December, we talked to you about a campaign that we partnered with Visit Florida in London. For the most part, Florida has been losing market share a little bit in the UK, and the UK is the second top international market in terms of visitation to Florida. Canada is number one with 3.9 million visitors, and the UK ranks second. One of the things that Visit Florida wanted to do was to try to recapture some of that market share. California has been very, very aggressive in doing marketing in the UK. So we decided, or Visit Florida decided, to do a takeover in London. Pretty guerrilla marketing efforts, but really just to get that brand in front of the UK visitor, to remind them of Florida, and of course, during the most awful month of the year in the UK, January. They actually have the third Monday in January is referred to as Blue Monday because there's no sunshine and it's kind of the longest day. So they actually have a day that they celebrate with Blue Monday. So that's why Visit Florida took over. And frankly, there were 4 elements of this campaign. There was a bus shelter campaign. So if you've ever been to London and you've been to Oxford Street has the best shopping, Fran. One shoppanista to another, just saying. And so we took over and had different bus shelters at different places on Oxford Street. And this is a picture of ours. And in terms of the month of January, in terms of impressions, the number of people who saw that, 278,000. And we also had some digital advertising as well. The next one was one of my favorites, was a nail salon activation in which, as you know, women are the decision makers even on the international side in terms of long haul visitation. So we took over some nail salon on January 31st. There were actually 4 different activations. Ours was the end. And we did manicures and pedicures in our special colors. And people were invited to take selfies, photos of their feet, and upload them to social media. And you can see the numbers there. There's also Instagram activation, and as you can see, and by the way, these numbers are collective with Visit Florida. They're not specific for Fort Myers, but we were a part of the campaign. And then finally, we did a sunburst activity where there was a vehicle that went around town to different areas, and it was kind of a pop-up thing where you would just get out and start giving shell necklaces and having a conversation about our destination. We had video on the vehicle, and were able to give away brochures and so forth. So that, I love the quote there too about our area. People really in the UK, they typically come for Disney vacations, but they usually look to pair that with a beach vacation. So again, the awareness is key. And then finally, we don't have any numbers for this, but we did a takeover with Thomas Cook, which just ended in March, as well as TripAdvisor UK, which also just ended. So really looking forward to getting those engagement numbers and actually seeing any booking numbers as a result. As Tam mentioned, Canada continues to be a very top market for us. And of course, this past January, we saw some softening in that market, obviously, with the exchange rates and so forth. We're hearing that things are evening out and starting to become more positive. So we are really aggressively still pursuing Canada, even though typically most of them come similar to the domestic market in the winter time. We've got some things going on that hopefully we can persuade them to come down this spring and this fall. So back in the fall, we did a promotion with the Marilyn Dennis show in Canada. She's seen all over Canada on CTV, and that was right, my Canadian friend? Okay, so, actually they had come down in the fall, and Lee Rose in our PR department took them all around, and there was a win-a-trip element to it. And we partnered with an online travel agency, iTravel 2000, to be able to monitor the bookings from that show. And we're real excited that she's going to do some more promotional things for us on our destination. Next weekend, or maybe it's next weekend, our very own Lee Rose will be live on the air from Fort Myers with the Chris Robinson Travel Show in Canada, talking about wonderful things to see and do here in the spring and summertime. And I know he will be wonderful. He's got the voice made for radio.
Is he gonna wear his Elvis costume?
And now to give you an update on our initiatives in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, here's my colleague Stephanie Zinka.
Good morning. Thank you, Pamela. Good morning, Council. I just wanted to give you a brief update on our efforts in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland over the past months. We have been focusing mostly on trade shows and consumer shows. We've been covering, for example, with Visit USA, we've partnered up and in Austria and Switzerland covered 3 cities doing workshops and trainings, and we reached that way over 480 agents. Also, for the second time in March, we have been invited to partner up with TUI, which is one of our biggest tour operators for Germany, to do in-house training. This is the second time that we've done this, and it's been very successful. And on another note, with TUI, we have been the first destination partner that they have selected to run a campaign on Instagram, which recently concluded. It ran from February and March. And the TUI marketing department is very happy with the results. We've reached 4,000 posts. It consisted of a photo contest to win a trip to the destination, and some of our industry partners donated parts like hotel stays and activities to make that package. And we had over 30,000 likes on that campaign, so everybody's very happy with it. Of course, one of our highlights in March was ITB in Berlin. We had the great privilege to have Commissioner Mann travel with us and be there with the German team, Tamara and myself. He did an excellent job. We had 49 meetings and participated in several key media events, but I think I speak for all of us that were there, that the highlight was that Commissioner Mann actually gave an impressive, and I can judge because I'm German, I understood what he said. He gave an impressive opening speech at the annual Visit Florida Pan Am event that we sponsored this year as well. And he did it in German. It was 2.5 minutes, and he had standing ovation. Everybody loved it. It was the first time somebody had actually taken the time from America coming to this event and speaking to the 250 plus trade professionals and media in German. So I think we'll be remembered, just especially for that, for at least another good year, and they probably expect it again next year. On a different note, and I'm just swapping over because it was on this slide, for other markets, for the other markets, speaking of Brazil, we just attended WTM in Latin America in Sao Paulo last month. We've done this now for the second year. We partnered with Visit Florida, and apart from the pre-scheduled meetings that we have, we also had the opportunity to be part of a media event which reached 34 key media outlets in Brazil, both for trade and consumer, which was a fabulous opportunity for us as a newer and smaller destination to take some shine and glamour away from Miami and Orlando and tell them what else there is out there for them to discover if they come to Florida. We started the year off in January with attending the Canterbury's in the Netherlands, which is the largest consumer-only show in Northern Europe. It was a great success. We partnered with Air Berlin for the Benelux, which is Belgium and the Netherlands, to do some trainings of travel agents while we were there. And of course, we attended Florida Huddle all the way in Tampa, where we had the opportunity to meet with tour operators from all of our key markets. And something else that was new on the agenda this year was us attending Iceland Air Mid-Atlantic Trade Show held in Reykjavik, Iceland. Not so much that we're promoting to Iceland, but Iceland Air has developed their route network extremely strongly over the last years. They're now flying into 16 different cities in the US, connecting to 27 cities in Europe. So we thought it was a great opportunity for us to, reach out and meet with different tour operators. The largest delegation was Scandinavia because they have airlift from 9 cities, and they fly nonstop into Orlando, so through Reykjavik. So we thought it would be a great opportunity to broaden our horizon and make some new relationships.
Stephanie, I'm glad to hear that, because when I saw that you were going to Iceland in February, I thought you had done something very bad.
I probably have. I think Pamela Johnson was supposed to go, but she kindly extended, why don't you go? And I said, sure, and then I thought, when and where? Yeah, I thought the same thing. But actually, it was beautiful. It was the first time, and it was very nice. Very cold, but beautiful. And also, one of our main focuses is, newer markets, for example, in Latin America, Brazil, Argentina, newer markets, but what we're doing there, our main focus is brand awareness and destination training. Just to tell people, who we are, where we are, what you can do here, and how close we are to the Mickey Mouse and the South Beach. So we've been focusing on Brazil and Argentina. Over the last 3 months, 5 different TV interviews and video featured programs in TV and travel and tourism programs were aired. And also, I am super excited to say that the last EPA report showed that our visitations, staying in paid accommodation for Latin America, are actually up by 37%, which is still not, the global number is not what we're talking about. Germany but it's growing, and it's one of the few in that last report. It was one of 5 source markets that actually presented double-digit growth. So I'm super excited because it's kind of like my little special baby. So on that note, like you see here, it's all about media. We will be hosting a lot of FAMs, journalist visits from these markets. So if any interests or concerns, I'm always happy to help. And what's coming, you can see here, it's right in line with our strategy overall. FAMs, nothing sells better than having them here and experience it firsthand. Also sales missions and roadshows in our key markets. And of course, IPW in June to reach all of our tour operators and make new connections. And that concludes my portion. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, I continue to believe in the strength of the international markets for us growing visitation to the destination. When you look at our 2015 numbers, the strength and growth really is in the international markets, and I think there's still great room to grow there. They do really enjoy our destination. I think we have a lot to offer, and despite some of the challenges with exchange rates, et cetera, I still believe that we have great opportunity to grow there. Now we will transition to Anna Stone, who will give us the sales report.
Good morning. So wanted to share some information and numbers from the first quarter of this year from the domestic. So meetings and groups, and this is inclusive of weddings, tour and travel, as well as meeting group leads. We've had 211 RFPs sourced to our partners January through March, and year-to-date 371. This is a 30% increase year over year in RFP sourced to partners. You can see it kind of broken down by market, but some of this is attributed to attending trade shows that we know are strong producers, as well as trying out new trade shows that we've seen some really great production from, as well as overall across the country a strong group market for 2016. There really has been significant growth. So moving forward, you can see meetings that declined our area. Almost half, 48%, were due to board or group preference. This is very typical for a board. A perfect example would be a group is looking to come here, and maybe they're also looking at Sarasota, and the president of the board lives in Sarasota, so that's the way the vote goes. Domestic travel trade outreach. So team has been very busy this past quarter and wanted to share some really good news from those shows. Our team had attended the New York Times Travel Show. Great show. It was great attendance. We had the opportunity to reach out to 29,000 plus consumers. We did have several destination partners that attended with us, and it was a good opportunity for us to take the time to promote not only our destination, but the Island Hopper Songwriter Festival to continue to drive business during that early fall season. Also attended the Chicago Boat Show, which is always a very well-attended show from one of our prime feeder markets in the Chicago area. The team spent 4 days in that area, and there was an estimated 39,000 plus in attendance. So really had some great leverage on that. You can kind of see from the pictures all the shows the last several months the team's been at. And coming up for us in the next 3 months, consistently are on the road. One of the very important and productive shows that we attend is the Helms-Briscoe Annual Meeting. It's held in Phoenix. It's a wonderful opportunity to get one-on-one appointments with the Helms-Briscoe Associates. Just a fun fact, last year in group business alone, Helms-Briscoe was responsible for booking $1 billion of business in the United States. So it's really a heavy, heavy hitting trade show, and our team really takes the opportunity to make contacts, get information about the pieces of business that are interested in our area, and pursue those. We will as well be targeting AAA travel agents along the west coast of Florida to continue to promote in-state drive market during our summer months, which we do on a yearly basis, and we always have great feedback from that. Domestic travel trends. I wanted to share a few trends with you that I think really bode well for our destination that have come up for the year 2016. Wedding leads account for 115 of our RFPs sourced to destination partners here in Lee County. So this is a 22% growth year over year. And according to Destination Weddings and Honeymoons, a top trend to expect for the remainder of 2016 is that brides and planners are going to continue to look for wedding venues in unique settings such as outdoor locations and beach barbecues. And it's really a great opportunity for us to continue to capitalize on that market because we offer some of the best outdoor locations that there are for beach weddings. So I think that's going to be very strong for us. We will continue to promote in our main feeder markets in the wedding segment, so we look to continue to drive that market segment. Also in the meetings market, this market segment has seen a significant amount of growth year over year as well, 35%. And according to Successful Meetings, a top trend that industry continues to see is that the lead time will become shorter and shorter on these leads. How can we capitalize on that? The great thing is that for us, our partners can use that shorter lead time to fill maybe gaps or holes they have in their calendar during a time where maybe normally they wouldn't have taken group business. So it's a great opportunity for our destination as well. And I wanted to share, in honor of Global Meetings Industry Day, which is today, we do have, it's the first annual ever Global Meetings Industry Day. It's an initiative that was started by North American Meetings Industry. And a lot of our team is out at GMID events today promoting our destination for the meetings market. We found out this past January that for the year of 2015, the Bureau had won the Smart Meetings Platinum Choice Award, which we were really excited about. You know, the readers get to vote on this, the editorial staff, the industry pros that actually book and have groups stay here. So it was a really great honor, and I know the Bureau worked very hard on all levels to earn this. So that's what I have today. Are there any questions? Yes.
And if we can go back to the lost meeting business chart, and it talks about, we talked about this in the past, board/group preference. Is there any things we should be?
Sorry, Jeff. Let me catch it. There you go.
What types of things are they saying? Is it just because they want a different destination? Is it something that we need to maybe think about doing in the future? What is the reasoning or any trends that you've heard?
You know, one I mentioned, you know, the president could say, well, I live here, I want to meet here. We offer, I tell you something that has been a great incentive for us is that we do offer the island incentive to drive business for group business during our non-peak season. That has helped a lot. In fact, we were going over the numbers yesterday, and we are actually up almost 50% in funds that have been paid out to these meetings that have come here. You know, the board group preference, it's a tricky one, because sometimes when you have a board of 5 or 10, it could be as simple as somebody went to Park City, Utah 10 years ago and loved it, and they're like, oh, Park City, we'll go back. But some of the things that we've put in place to counter this, there have been several instances where we've provided, for instance, a coffee break for a board meeting as they're making their decision, a presentation to a board, sending information to a meeting planner so she can present to the board. So when they have 3 destinations in front of them, ours is the only visual one they're seeing. So it's not uncommon for this reason to be cited, but we certainly are enacting to counter it.
And if our competition in these kind of discussions is just all over the board, it could be Park City, Utah versus...
Absolutely.
There's really no trend comparison to make, I guess.
You know, if we're looking in-state, primarily we do compete against some of the main players because we're similar. For instance, we see Sarasota pop up a lot. We see Naples pop up a lot. You know, one's immediately north, one's immediately south, and we have some similar facilities.
Sure.
So that's very common. But when you get into your incentive market, that's when it can be all over the board. You know, they certainly consider us for a great destination because they're rewarding their people, but they could be considering Napa as well because Napa is also a destination to reward your people in. So it really just depends on what type of group they're bringing to the area.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions?
Anna, I had one question.
Sure.
On your listings of all the various events and meetings that we attend,
yes,
it appears we have I think a contract with Florida Travel Marketing. That was 6 or more events they represented us. Is this kind of an annual contract, and I assume we're happy with them?
Yeah, absolutely. Shelley and her team are very, very knowledgeable with the shows they attend, not only the shows, but the consumers that attend those shows. She is on a contract. It's not an annual contract, but absolutely. She really has, because she's so familiar with our feeder markets and has been for years, she knows exactly what shows we will get the best feedback at.
Good.
We RFP that just like we do our other contracts, just for clarification.
Anything else?
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Anna.
Thank you so much.
All right, and now we'll ask Judy to give the visitor services report.
Thank you very much. I'll be quick and brief this morning. I just want to give you a quick tour of what we've been doing, but before I do that, you're going to hear more about, and don't worry about my presentation, I just want to talk to you a little bit. You're going to hear more about the prom next month. That was in celebration of our 26th annual volunteer appreciation event. But I just want to say that Elvis is in the house, and Elvis was a hit, and Elvis made all of my sweet ladies giggly. And I just want to personally thank Elvis, because you were amazing. And all of the board members that could be there, thank you very much for that. I wanted to also just spend 1 minute talking to you about our last 3 months. We had a very busy season. We had over about 92,000 visitors that we worked with. These are personal touch points where we actually talk to people, tell them about the area, describe some of the things that we're doing. It's been fantastic for us, and Fran knows how crazy it gets out there, and we just love it. We probably had more volunteer hours dedicated in our long 12-hour day than ever, over 7,200 hours just in the first quarter of volunteer support, so it's quite amazing. We've actually presented 7 different projects and worked with lots of different folks to do some fun things throughout the community, which you'll hear more about shortly. But I also wanted to tell you that the top 3 accommodations for the quarter were Crown Plaza Hotel, Hilton Garden Inn Airport, and the Best Western Airport. And these properties are ones that people ask consistently about over all the others in these first 3 months. So it's kind of interesting to see those dynamics. Manatee Park is one of the activities that people are asking about. I don't know what Parks and Rec is doing, but it's quite impressive how they're out there just promoting their park system. And as far as attractions, the Edison Home continues to rise to the top on a consistent basis. It's quite fascinating. As far as our community support, one of the fun things that we did the last 3 months was we had 7 different projects, and some of the fun ones included Art Fest Fort Myers, and I think Sharon's here. It's always a pleasure for us to provide volunteer support for that initiative. It's an amazing event that people embrace wholeheartedly. But we also supported the sales team on the Governor's Baseball Dinner. We also did a special group for the Scope for Hope 5K run. That was an amazing thing to support one of our volunteers. It was fantastic. As far as the industry product training that we're doing, we did some special behind-the-scenes airport tours, and that was fun because we also included in that active shooter training, which is something a little different that we normally don't do, but because of interesting things that have happened we're all aware about, our volunteers, again, have wanted to make sure that they're aware of what's happening. So we did that as part of the Port Authority training, but it's all part of county training as a whole. And then amongst the many fun types of product training that we did, we also went down to Naples to see the Golisano Children's Museum. Our Collier and Charlotte partners are becoming very involved with us to make sure we're aware of what's happening. And then as far as our partner participation, I just wanted to say that we're having a heck of a lot of fun with all the different community groups, and one notable one is the Southwest Florida ADA Council. And essentially that group, we're working closely with Brian and the marketing team to make sure that we're totally ADA compliant on our website, which is going to be a fun initiative. And of course, we are planning with the sales team a Visit Florida Welcome Center FAM for next May. That's going to be a great deal of fun, and Anna and Neil are working with us on that. And to come, I just want to say, make sure you have May 4th on your calendars for the Southwest Florida Travel Rally. I just want to tell you, without giving you any other hints, because you're going to hear a lot from me lately, John Lai is working on a 30-second video throwdown. So if you don't have a race team ready yet, you're going to hear from us, because we're going to start promoting him, because he is the brave one who's going to step up and actually do a video and challenge everybody in the industry. So just be ready for that to come through your email. And a couple other things coming up. Of course, we're working with marketing and the sales team to do the Team Tourism Summer Lecture Series, as well as the sales and marketing meetings. And that's about it, short and sweet. Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Brian, you ready to give us the marketing report?
To put my cheaters on now. Well, good morning, everybody. And before I go into the report, I celebrated my 3-month anniversary with the Bureau last week. And somehow it feels like a lot longer with the amount of work that I've had. But I just want to, I say this all the time. I just wanted to say it again. This is a fantastic team here at the VCB that I am working with, that we click, we work very, very well together, and it's by far the best career decision I've ever made. So I just wanted to say that to my fellow staffers. Thank you for making my first 3 months be so fantastic. So I'm going to jump right in. We talked a little bit about the January and February that we had, and there was a lot of concern amongst our partners about, well, what is the Bureau going to do? We don't have control over the weather or the water quality, but we did have control over our messaging. And so we went into action after that meeting and put together what we're calling an incremental winter digital media campaign. Basically, we didn't take any of our spends from later in the year and pull them forward. We had $125,000 in reserve funds that were approved that we spent on digital media. We opted to go digital because we can move very quickly with digital, unlike other more traditional media. So the timing of the campaign was mid-February to early March, and of course we targeted our primary markets, our primary winter markets, Minneapolis, Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Columbus, Detroit, Philadelphia, and the others. And the campaign included banners, mobile, and some page takeovers, yielded 14.2 digital impressions in 3 weeks. You can see there at the top, the temperature 11 degrees, and our ad to a certain degree, winter's not so bad. Down here, these are mobile ads, go from winter cold to just right. And they pop up on people's smartphones, and different images of the destination were shown to encourage them to get out of the cold and come to Florida. The CPI is cost per inquiry. That's a good number. We like to see that number under $5. And the majority of traffic from this campaign came from New York City, Boston, Chicago, and Minneapolis. This was an example of a sports takeover. Of course, we host the Twins here for spring training. So this was a takeover of the Minneapolis Star-Tribune newspaper. Again, go from winter cold to just right. And we brag that we are the home of the Minnesota Twins spring training. This ran on March 7th, so there was still plenty of time for people to fly down from Minneapolis and see their Twins. Now, the numbers on this, the cost per inquiry was a lot higher because this is a niche ad. It doesn't have the same broad appeal as some of the others that we've shown for the beaches and for the destination. The click-through rate, 0.24%, compared to industry standard on these types of ads at 0.4%. But what we did learn is that visits from Minneapolis on the site had the longest time spent and the most page views, which means that we were targeting the right type of people. So all in all, we were very happy with that campaign. MMGY, our agency, leapt into action, and we made that happen. So the $125,000 spend yielded 14 million impressions. Now we're looking ahead to our spring promotions to promote summer travel. First I wanted to share with you today was newspaper. Coming up this Sunday in the New York Times, the Boston Globe, again the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, and the Chicago Tribune, total of 6.5 million impressions with ads that look like this. The sports, that was just an example. We are not running in the sports section, I promise you. But that is Find Your Island, Find Yourself. And we've done this typically the last couple of years, and we've had some great response. Shows the beaches, some of the wildlife, and the palm trees. So company print, we have some TV. New TV spots were produced. 2, as a matter of fact. I'm going to share them with you today. They're running in, again, our primary markets, Chicago, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Columbus, Dallas, Houston, Indy, St. Louis, and D.C. They will yield about 22 million impressions. Now, the color on this wall with this projector is a little washed out. So for the true color, look at the monitors. I will dim the lights just to help a little bit.
On the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel, time is up for grabs. Just like big shells, small shells, and thousands of other gifts from the sea. On islands like Cayo Costa, Captiva, and Fort Myers Beach, slowing down means you're surrounded by what matters most. And those are the times you hold on to forever. Plan your trip at FortMyersSanibel.com.
And we've got one more for you. That one was focused more on shelling. This one also encompasses a little bit of our nature activities.
On the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel, nature moves at its own pace, surrounded by seashells on Boca Grande, mangroves in Estero Bay, and dolphins in Pine Island Sound. What matters most surrounds you naturally, when you take the time to look. Plan your trip at FortMyersSanibel.com.
What'd you think? Good? Good stuff. So new print, new TV, and new radio spots as well. These spots, the first spot, we did 2, again. The first one concentrates on shelling. It takes a little different approach. With radio, you don't have the visual support that you do with television. So you want to capture people's attention and help them paint a picture of what to expect in the destination. So the theme of these radio spots is thank you. And when you hear them, you'll understand why. The 4 markets that the radio spots will run in, Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, and Indianapolis, also provide some overlap with our television. Okay? So, Amanda, if you could play the first one for us.
And now, a thank you from the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel. Thank you, seashells, for washing up on our white sand beaches. Without you, people would need a passport to get to the best shelling in the world. Thanks to you, words like sand dollar, conch, and, ooh, a spirally one, are shouted every day. Thank you, seashells. Yours truly, the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel. Plan a vacation you're thankful for at FortMyersSanibel.com.
It's a lot of fun, right? All right. Radio will yield just under 3.8 million impressions in those 4 markets. Here's the second spot. The first one, we thanked our seashells, and in this one, we're thanking our dolphins.
And now, a thank you from the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel. Thank you, dolphins, for swimming in our gentle Gulf waters. When you leap above the surface, Boat Wake becomes a playground. Your smile is as bright as the Southwest Florida sun, and your unexpected acrobatics could make even a surly sea captain giggle. Thank you, dolphins. Yours truly, the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel. Plan a vacation you're thankful for at FortMyersSanibel.com.
It's a pretty creative approach, I thought. So very, very happy with the newspaper, with our TV, and with our radio, helping to start drive our summer visitation. One of the things we are focusing on moving forward is user-generated content. And we not only use photos and video and whatnot for our own usage, but we also have an asset management system where we share all of these images with our partners. And so we initiated two different ways of collecting more photography, more assets. The first was a photo contest that ran November through January. We had almost 3,000 page views on our photo contest landing page. They spent 4.5 minutes on that page, which is well above our site average of just under 2 minutes. And at the end of it all, we had received more photo entries for this contest than I think anybody thought we would, 5,708 photos. Now, 21% of them came from Fort Myers, so only 1 in 5 were taken by locals. So that showed that a lot of visitors, you see there, 3.5% from New York, 3% from Chicago, visitors from all over also participated in the photo contest. And again, all of the images will be uploaded to our asset management system for partner usage. I wanted to share with you the winners by category of these photos. We had an arts and culture category. I'll dim the lights again and make it a little easier. The bird's eye view category. Each of these were $500 winners, by the way. And again, they look much better on the monitors than they do on the wall projector. From the shore. We all love that one. We wanted to be the person in that hammock.
Yeah.
In and on the water. Urban flavor, going an entirely different direction. That was taken, one of the few black and whites we had submitted, taken right downtown Fort Myers. Wild and natural. And we couldn't help but notice that all of those birds were flying and none of their wings were out of focus.
Amazing.
Then we had overall winners. This was a $1,000 winner, 4th place overall. Third place. Second place overall, and remember that photo because the gentleman who took it is actually going to be our next resident artist I'll tell you about here in a little bit. And our first place overall $5,000 winning photo. Our agency, our staff, and the influencers that we brought on board to assist us with this photo contest unanimously voted for this photo. So we had a lot of fun, and again, over 5,000 new photos for the destination. I'm going to leave the lights dimmed because we're going to be taking a quick look at some other photos. But the other way we've been collecting them is through our resident artist program. We talked a little bit about this at our last meeting and said we would introduce you to our first resident artist. His name is Jamie Williams. First of all, let me just tell you a little bit about the program. Basically, the idea is to give local photographers and videographers the chance to develop their work and connect with the people and nature of Lee County. The selected artists are asked to express Lee County's sense of place in such a way that allows visitors to connect with the arts, what it's like to catch a tarpon, see the sunset over the Gulf, glide beneath mangrove tunnels, walk and play in the River District, and much more. So we'll have 4 resident artists working with the VCB, 1 per quarter every year. And again, our first, his name is Jamie Williams. He was selected from over 30 applicants. I'll tell you quickly a little bit about Jamie. He is a resident of Fort Myers, has lived here his entire life. He attended Cypress Middle and Cypress High School. His hobby is technology. He says he is a tech geek and often wears a smartwatch. And I told him earlier he messed up my intro because his smartwatch wasn't charged for today's meeting, so he has a traditional watch on today. Some of his favorite places to shoot, Sanibel and Captiva Islands. And with no formal photography training, he always enjoyed being artistic, and he said Instagram gave him the confidence to showcase his talents. A little fun fact, he bought his first camera and took it to the Smoky Mountains with him. He took a lot of pictures, and with one of the photos, entered a photo contest and won an even better camera. How about that? So I'd like to introduce you to Jamie Williams and have him take you through a handful of the photos that he took on behalf of the Visitor Bureau. Jamie?
Thank you, everybody. Good morning. I wanted to start by saying that it was an absolute pleasure to be a part of this program. And as Brian said, I've lived in this city my entire life. I was born in Cape Coral and moved to Fort Myers when I was about 3 and lived there my whole life. So it was incredible to be able to take photos for the city and like it says in my quote, make people see it the way that I see it. So I'm going to run through some of my photos and talk just a little bit about them. This is a couple friends of mine and their beautiful daughter Isabella, and I convinced them to come down with me and take some photos on the beach. One of the biggest goals was to get photos of people enjoying the beach, relatable photos that people could see and picture themselves in. And for the entire Q1, it was fairly cold. It was cold most of the time, so it was hard to get photos of people that were dressed down for the beach. So I had to convince people to come out with me to do it, and I think they did a good job. It came out very well. Skimboarders on the beach, Fort Myers Beach specifically. I've lived here my whole life, and I've actually never had the chance to do this. And I chatted with some of them, and I'd really like to try it. And hopefully people will relate to that and they'll want to try it too. The view from the top of the Lani Kai. It's probably the highest point you can get on the beach without parasailing or being in a helicopter. And the staff at the VCB kind of described this photo as a representation of a beach town. You know, it's more than just a beach, it's a whole beach town. And I appreciated that, and I think I agree with it. And another thing is, since it was cold, I couldn't get on the ground and get photos of people, so it looks like a very secluded beach, and hopefully people will like the idea of having the whole beach to themselves. This was actually the same day. I'm sure this probably looks better on the TVs, yeah, than it does on here. It's a little dark. But that was actually the same day, just 20 minutes later. I walked down, and I saw the sun. The second it got below those clouds, it all lit up, and it looked incredible, and I jogged down. I wanted to get past the pier, so the pier wasn't in the foreground. Got past it and came with this. This place is called Revolution Cable Park. It's in North Fort Myers, and I wanted to get some shots of water sports. It's not particularly easy to get water sport photography on the beach because they're pretty far out, and you gotta zoom in real far and hope that you can capture it. So this was incredible. I got right up close and personal with these people, wakeboarding on the cable out there. So I like that. Here's another shot from the same location. Makes it look extremely exciting. Hopefully people will want to participate in stuff like that here. Shells, of course. This is at Blind Pass at Captiva. And on this particular day, there was an incredible amount of shells, probably more than I've ever seen. So I couldn't pass up the opportunity. Same Blind Pass, boy fishing. And I was right down in the water, and just like him, I was shielding my face and shielding my camera away from the water splashing up. But it definitely made for a beautiful scene right at sunset. This is probably my favorite, and I think a few of them, Brian and them, agreed that this was some of their favorites. Very representative of the area. Of course, the beach. Of course, the blue sky and waters. But there's also people. There's people enjoying it, wildlife, and there's even the Sanibel Lighthouse in the background, so you know exactly where you're at. A shell representing shelling. The sky looked spectacular that day, and I really wanted to try to mix the colors of the shells and the beach with the sky, and so I picked it right up, and it worked perfect, so that came out great. Key lime pie from Key Lime Bistro. What I now know is definitely the best in town. Absolutely great. They did up the plate for me. They made it look beautiful, and it made for a great photo. And I believe that's the last one. It is. I did just want to say thank you to Brian and Tam and everyone that let me do this. It was such a pleasure. Thank you all.
Brian, I don't want to take away your thunder on this, but I just want to add a little bit. You know, Jamie was really challenged. I mean, remember what the first quarter was like for him. I mean, he tried to go to the beach and shoot people. They're all in jackets. The water doesn't look so pretty. I mean, I think he did a really beautiful job of capturing the area. And I think more importantly than that, this is about us building our relationship with local artists, local photographers, encouraging them to hone their craft, helping them understand what kind of imagery we're looking for. And so I look at this as, you know, kind of broadening our relationship with our arts and cultural community, in addition to, of course, getting us some great content. I will remind you again what Brian said. The assets go into the asset management system. You guys have access to those, so as partners, you have these as resources to you as well. We may kill a few of those for ads and hold those back, I'll be honest, because some of them are really fantastic. But the ones that we're not using in our ads, we will absolutely be sharing with you guys. So with that said, Brian, let you finish. Sorry. It's kind of personal to me, so.
It's going to be a great program. It was a pleasure working with Jamie. I'm sure he'll be friends of the Bureau for quite some time. Yeah, it's a winning project for sure. And you remember that second place overall photo that I shared with you of the boat at the dock? That was taken by a gentleman by the name of Dennis Gingrich, and he submitted several photos to our photo contest, and the staff and the agency kept shortlisting his photos, and we realized he had also applied to be our resident artist. It's like, oh, we got to get this guy. So we met with Dennis, what was it, Elizabeth, a week, 2 weeks ago, week or so ago, and he's out there taking photos for us now, and we'll do so through June. And then the third quarter resident artist program application process will be opening in May. So if any of you want to take a shot, submit an application, if you got good photo skills, we'd love to work with you. So it's no surprise that the radio spots, the TV spots, everything includes seashells, right? We even I have some more left on the table over here. We participate with Visit Florida in the visual guide to collecting seashells. So we are the top seashell destination in the U.S. and one of the top seashell destinations in the world. And so our summer campaign this year, a lot of it revolves around National Seashell Day. National Seashell Day is the first day of summer this year, June 20th. We have a summer celebration campaign which launches on April 20th, as you see there. E-news, social, digital, print, and broadcast. All the traffic will be driven to our National Seashell Day landing page, showcasing the Shell Yeah sweepstakes, and partner deals and information on shelling in the area. This is an example of a print insert that will be going out on May 1st, Tampa, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, Miami, and the Villages. Some of the digital media that we'll be running to promote our celebration. This is a rich media ad that when you click on it, it opens. You will be able to watch our TV spot that I shared with you earlier about shelling, and we'll also include our new 3-minute island findings video that was not ready to share with you today. Maybe at the next meeting I'll share that with you. It'll be a place where you can enter the sweepstakes and to take advantage of summer deals. I wanted to thank Anna and her team. Our staff came together and encouraged nearly 25 partner accommodations to all offer the exact same deal across the destination, and that is book 3 nights and get your 4th night free. So not only can they enter the sweepstakes to win a trip to the destination, they can also take advantage of some great lodging deals. We will bring influencers into the market the first week of June. Influencers are people that have very, very strong social media followings on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. They will be treated to destination experiences. Of course, they will go shelling. and then we'll be sharing those stories with all of their followers and promoting Beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel. We also have some fun things going on social. We have, how many people have taken Facebook quizzes? People have taken Facebook quizzes, come on. So we're doing our own Facebook quiz, Find Your Shellmate. We actually have our resident shelling expert, Pam Rambo, has assigned personalities to the Sanibel 6 that she calls, the 6 shells that are most often found on Sanibel Island. And you'll take a quiz, answer a series of questions, and then based on your answers, you will be connected to your shellmate, one of the Sanibel 6 shells. We like that, don't we? That's fun, right? So we will promote the sweepstakes across all of our social channels, and it will be, again, supported with rich media digital advertising. Here's the big one. On Monday morning, June 20th, Ginger Z from Good Morning America will be broadcasting live from Sanibel Island, 4 live remotes. It's great because she is currently doing very well on Dancing with the Stars, which is helping her gain popularity. We have a long list of things for Ginger to do because even though we only have 4 remote opportunities live on air, she will be in destination earlier doing different activities so we can collect some B-roll for the broadcast. Pam Rambo will be talking with her, taking her shelling, possibly a Captiva cruise. There will be a sand sculpture, maybe a Sanibel stoop demonstration. We've talked about her visiting Edison and Ford Winter Estates, maybe Cypress Slough and some other things. So we're going to have a lot of fun with Ginger Z come this summer. So what's next? I know marketing, we went a little long, but I wanted to share all this creative with you. The Attractions Marketing Grant Application Workshop is coming up on April 20th. There is $350,000 in funding available as part of that program. The Events Marketing Grant Application deadline is coming up later this month on April 29th. The cycle opened in March, and there will be a review workshop next month. $200,000 is available in that program. We're also working with the agency on a brand new print and digital campaign, and as was mentioned earlier, I think Judy mentioned it, we are in the process of redeveloping our consumer website. It's a monster project, but it's on schedule and set to launch in July. And that's it for me. Does anybody have any questions or want to make any comments about any of our marketing?
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Nancy's going to give us an update on the Beach and Shoreline Program. As you know, your workshop is coming up. So,
Quick, when is the marketing grant application workshop on the 20th, or is that going to be held?
Nancy, can you answer that?
What is it?
The one that Brian was talking about, the marketing grant application
Attractions
workshop.
marketing.
Right. Nonprofit area attractions in Lee County have an opportunity to apply for grants through the Community Foundation. They administer the grant program for us. I think we funded 36 small attractions this year. So that workshop will talk about how to apply for those funds, what the criteria involved.
That's the one on the 20th?
Yes.
And where is it going to be?
It's here.
Oh, here, okay.
Right here at 3 o'clock, and that it has a deadline of June. So it's opening the funding request period, and then the deadline is sometime in June.
It's for the potential recipients.
Right, that's the marketing grant application workshop
Right.
is here. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So I am here to update you, and I'll be as brief as I can on the Beach and Shoreline Program. It's important each year before you review funding requests for next year to hear about what's happening this year. So to start, since fiscal year 2000, the TDC has allocated just over $104 million, and this is a snapshot of where the money is spent. We spend 22% of it on capital improvement projects, a little less than half of it on maintenance of your beach and shoreline projects, and 26% on beach nourishment projects. This gives you a peek at the amount per fiscal year since FY 2000, And currently, this year, FY16, we allocated $9.7 million current year. FY11, a little bit of a spike there. That was when the Lee County decided to buy Crescent Beach. So that's a little bit of an outlier. That came from reserves, the bulk of that project. Beach nourishment has been the priority of the TDC historically. It is the one thing that you are interested in setting aside funds for each year. $2.2 million has been allocated to the Beach Nourishment Trust Fund to fund the projects that are listed there. There are 6 project areas in Lee County that are managed by the Lee County Department of Natural Resources. All of the projects listed currently are in what we call monitoring. And beach nourishment projects typically last from 7 to 10 years, depending on storm events. So right now we're monitoring all of those listed. Current year you allocated $2.5 million. A little bit of that went to fund some studies. The City of Sanibel does beach erosion surveys every year. Town of Fort Myers Beach developed a coastal management plan recently. So those are examples of some of the things you fund with beach nourishment. Here's a look at Blind Pass, which is the next project up for construction. It will begin the end of this calendar year. And Blind Pass is important because it directly contributes sand to the northern tip of Sanibel Island. And as you can tell in this slide, Sanibel has been hammered, the northern end, by winter storms, the last few years actually. So we're looking forward to that project, and it should be complete in 2017. Estero Island is doing very well. Again, it's in monitoring. This is the northern end. That's Bowditch Point to the left and the Pink Shell Resort. They are in the monitoring phase and doing well. They survived a lot of these winter storms, as did Bonita Beach, which is the last project you've constructed. Bonita Beach with Lover's Key in the background. They were both complete 2 years ago. Yeah.
Nancy, are we going to get more nourishment at that end soon with the dredging of the pass?
That would be a question for Steve, who couldn't be here, and we will be happy to discuss it at the workshop in 2 weeks.
Okay.
I believe so, but I really would prefer Steve answer. So
Okay.
he apologizes for not being here. We were going to show you all the beaches in the county. They flew the county recently and have fantastic pictures, but we're short on time, and he couldn't be here to do it, so you got me. The next category is capital improvement. So since FY 2000, you funded $22.8 million in capital projects, and currently this fiscal year there was 1.7 allocated to some of the examples that I list on this slide. This is a shot of the Serenity Vista Park in Cape Coral. You funded a manatee observation deck there, and they're in, I think they're approaching phase 3 of a 3-year project at that location. You've also funded boardwalk replacements and dune walkovers on Sanibel and Fort Myers Beach. There are currently 2 restrooms in design and permitting located at Mount Lachey and Cayo Costa. Maintenance projects, since fiscal year 2000, you funded $47.2 million in maintenance projects. And this is the big one, although we need to take care of what we built. A lot of the funding in maintenance goes to pay for staff, pay for the daily maintenance and upkeep of beach equipment. Current year, you funded $5.6 million, and all of those municipalities and agencies listed receive current year funding. And here's an example of a big maintenance project that hopefully will be complete next year. It's taken 3 years, $900,000. Caloosahatchee Regional Park, critically eroded shoreline. It's a popular park for hiking and camping. And for the 2 arrows in the middle of the slide, that's the project focus right now. Once they finish that, the project will be complete. It's about a mile and some of shoreline on the Caloosahatchee River. One of the documents that I'm going to share with you shortly is the active project status report, and this gives you a peek at what the current projects that are active, how much they've been allocated in TDC funding, how much we've reimbursed them, and most importantly, what they have left. Because an example here is the ones that are highlighted in yellow are requesting future funding for fiscal year 17. So you'll want to know what kind of funding they're sitting on when you're considering allocating funding for the future. So, with that, why am I telling you all this? 2 weeks from today, you will hopefully all be here to join us for the review of beach and shoreline funding requests for next fiscal year. Today, Lisa will be giving you a small binder similar to what mine looks like, and it's much smaller than the big binder Glenn has, We are cutting back on making you all your own binder, but we will be sharing the project requests with you this afternoon via email. So you can go into a PDF, and anybody here could look at the projects. They're on levcb.com on the Beach and Shoreline page. And but to recap, for fiscal year 17, we're looking at 22 project requests, and there's a total of $13.5 million being requested, and the Lee County Office of Budget has estimated $10.2 million will be available for beach and shoreline projects next year. So the folder that Lisa's going to give you to take with you, because it's important that you have this information available, is one memo from the county attorney, and that will outline some projects that are ineligible under the Beach and Shoreline Program, or perhaps a portion of a project. There might be some things in the project request that are not eligible. A determination spreadsheet, which recaps since January when the cycle opened to today, all of the reviews that have been done, clarifications that have been made, comments by the Coastal Advisory Council, the active project status report that I just referred to, and most importantly, what are they asking for in the future? So in the requests that you're going to look at, there are projections for what a municipality may need in the future. So we feel all of this information is very important for you to have. I just want to say thank you in advance. It is probably one of the most arduous projects you are asked to do as a TDC member. It's very important. We appreciate your time. And unless you have questions, I'll see you back here on April 28th.
All right, last but not least, and I know it's been a lot today, but this is what happens when we don't have a meeting and we have a lot going on, as you can tell at the Bureau. I will ask Francesca to give us the Public Relations report.
Great. Good morning, everyone. Are we up? Can you hear me? Okay. I'm going to make this bright and breezy, and we're going to get right through it really fast, because it's actually, I consider it sort of like dessert, because it's got some of the really fun stuff. So this that you're looking at is a 4.5-foot king mackerel, and that was taken by one of our heavy-hitting journalists from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, who was staying at Tween during the Outward Writers Association board meeting. So we got so lucky that day, and I just thought it was really impressive. And he also caught a 200-pound grouper that I'd never even seen in my whole life. So it was a really spectacular day. Oh, I'm switching. Hold on. Here's our quarterly report. We just continue to bang out really impressive circulation and impression numbers. We had record-breaking film permits that Cindy Hinson handled so well, and the reason for that was probably because David Ortiz was retiring, so we got hit with some really excellent film requests. Also, we got ESPN, JetBlue Airlines, MasterCard, and Visit Florida did some amazing stuff with the beaches. Major media outlets covered, Milwaukee's Wisconsin Journal-Sentinel, about Toronto Star. I mean, we're doing getting really heavy hitters right now. We had some big media trips. Now, we try really hard not to encourage them to come during season, because we know how slammed you are, but there are some times when you cannot say no. Like, look at that, Parents Magazine, Travel and Leisure, German Media Group, Scottish Sun. We have them coming in droves. The Chinese market has been especially robust. Big titles right there. I wanted to give Tony a thank you because he had dinner with one of the Chinese journalists, but he left, so I'll thank him in person. This, I just wanted you to see. This is like dessert right here. Like, we just got these assets from Eileen Saffron was in the air in a helicopter, and she captured these. But look at them. They are packed, and she had a really beautiful day. So this is for us to share and to celebrate, because it doesn't get much better than that, really. Recently, Shanice Jarman did Florida media calls. So that means we just hit all of our major cities in Florida and make sure that they're remembering things like National Seashell Day and all the stuff that we're doing that we can promote in-state. I just came back with Shelley Krant from the North American Travel Journal Association, which meant that put us in front of 75 of the top travel journalists. And I have to say, our table was sandwiched between Oklahoma City and Milwaukee, so we had a big line at our table. So we did really well. Lee Rose hit Visit Florida, participated in a New York media reception with 40 journalists and bloggers. I'm almost done. This is really exciting. Hobie came 2 years ago. What they do is they bring all of their really cool kayaks and outdoor stuff, and then they bring top outdoor writers from across the country to sample their Hobie stuff and then write about us. So this year, we're thrilled to have this Hobie group at Tarpon Lodge with Rob, and we're going to take over Tarpon Lodge with this group. But even more impressive is that the president of Hobie is coming. So if you want to come to that cocktail party, I'll let you know about that. And this was my moment to actually do a shout out to Ken Wells, who always, this was reminding me, always rolls out the red carpet for all these groups when they come to Kavachki. Chinese journalists couldn't have been more impressed. And lastly, Ding Dong Tarpon Tournament is coming up. We're going to have 2 boats. We're going to have one filled with UK journalists and one with another UK journalist who brought 2 contest winners from the area. But I want to tell you, I'm going to end it with a story. That guy on the microphone in the top corner, I had lunch with him yesterday. He came back, he's from the Scottish Sun, because he fell so in love. He got another assignment to come, and he was practically crying about how much fun he had. But the guy right next to him actually did cry. So when we had the Tarpon tournament last year, they came in 5th place, which was just unbelievable. They didn't really know how to fish. I mean, some of them did, right? But some of them didn't. And this captain, they came in 5th place. And then when they went up to get their money, they gave the money back. It was like $1,200 to standing ovations and clapping. Then, of course, they're from the UK, so they went out drinking that night. And he drank so much and was so happy that he sat at the Fort Myers Beach bar and wept. So I just wanted to share that, because not only do we, thanks to Christine Davlin, make ourselves the friendliest destination in the world, but we make them cry. That's it.
Happy tears, happy tears. Thank you, Francesca. So that concludes my report, unless any of you have questions, and I appreciate your indulgence with that lengthy report today.
Well, thank you, Tamara. And thank you, VCB staff, for everything you do for us on a daily basis. Jeff, you're on.
Thank you. Good morning. Good to see all of you. It's been a while. I think the last time was before the Tourist Development Council was in January. So today we're going to roll out our October, November, December numbers and our year end, and then talk to you a little bit about what our spring activities have been. Am I in charge of the clicker? Okay. This is all new. All right. So October turns out to be, let me fast forward one really quick. You can see this October was the best we've had in our history. So go back to the list of events that we hosted. Most of that is because Perfect Game jumped from 216 teams in October to 256. So that was a huge jump. That had a huge impact. That was over Columbus Day weekend. That's an extended stay weekend in the fall. And the other 2 reasons is because one, hockey and Fit Nation Tribal Games were brand new events that have never been in Lee County. So again, continue to try to fill those calendars, fill those holes with events that we haven't seen before. So October, great month for us. Then we go to November, which again is typically all about Roy Hobbs and the Senior Softball Winter Nationals. Also added in for the 3rd year the Fort Myers Marathon. And you can see that November numbers were slightly down, but very close. Second best November we've ever had. And mostly because in 2014, we had a half-century senior softball event, and we also had a men's bowling event that November as well. So that's what caused a little bit of the fluctuation. And then we cruise to December. And I'll show you here in this slide, you can see a pattern. 2009 and 10, big months, 2 years of down, 2 years of up. That's all because of the Florida Senior Games. So in December, when we host the Florida Senior Games, we have 2 years of 3,500 extra room nights flowing through our community. And then as the state is mandated to move that around to different regions of the state of Florida. It's been in St. Pete, Clearwater these last 2 years. And then we're competing right now against Polk County, whether or not we're going to host the next round or the round after. But it'll certainly be coming back to us. So again, in December of 2015, 9,800 room nights sold. And back to the graph where you can kind of see the trend lines. So let's jump to our year-end report. This is the report that we talk about for the rest of the year. This is the report that we give to our League Grows, all of the citizens who come through that League Grows program, that we educate about our sports tourism program. We talk about the successes, how we add on to the Visitor and Convention Bureau's tourism successes in these ways. So 152,400 room nights, which was second only to last year where we did 159,000 room nights. 148,000, you can see at the very next to last line, 148,000 people came to town to compete in these amateur sports events. Again, does not include spring training numbers. And then you look at the direct impact, it's $61 million of direct visitor spending that's brought in during these tournaments, left in our community, and get to circle around and generate additional impacts. I will say the 115 number of events was a record for us. Last year we had 113 events, so we had added 2 more events in total to our calendar year, and I think that in part is what helped us keep our numbers. And there's our trend from 2009. So it used to be that we kind of fought to get over 100,000 room nights. It really depended on NARCH, when NARCH came around. And then in 2011, we did have NARCH, so you can see it jumped. What happened in 2012 was we opened JetBlue Park. And when we opened JetBlue Park, that added 7 more baseball fields for our community, and you can see what the economic impact mostly from all the amateur baseball did in correlation with opening a new facility. And we call those mega facilities. Those are facilities that can host huge numbers of tournaments that have instant economic impact in our community. And I think that's a really good chart that tells you what can happen when something like that is opened up to our use. So in all, the 159 to 152 is a 4.5% decrease. You guys remember that painful conversation I had with you in July? We were out at the Westin in Cape Coral, and I was very nervous to stand and talk about our July. But our July was just so down, and a lot of that was because NARCH split in half. So we had that North American Roller Hockey Championships for the first time, went from a all in Lee County event to half of it was in San Jose, California, and half in the East Coast Finals were in Lee County. So that really hurt our July compared to 14. And then we cleared a lot of space for what we thought was going to be a youth amateur baseball tournament that turned out to be much smaller than we expected. So had that not happened, we certainly would have been up, and I certainly expect 2016 to compete, if not surpass 2014's economic impact. So that's the report. Now just a few notes. We've been out traveling a lot. All 3 of us, Gary, Angel, and I just got back from our national association meetings, where actually Dana Castle, your Parks and Rec director, and I were part of a hour-long education panel about how sports commissions and Parks and Rec departments should work more closely together. Because again, Lee County is incredibly unique in this situation, and so we are really honored to represent Lee County on that panel. There were 2 other folks, Salem, Virginia, and Casper, Wyoming as well. Gary just got back from a pretty unique AAU board meeting where it was the first time ever 2 destinations were invited to be a part of that board meeting, where 35 people who are in charge of 50 different sports were at that 2-day function. And I believe I've already told you that Angel, in fact, I think Angel was already on the road, went to the European Softball Federation and Congress of European Baseball meetings. And again, there, we were only one of 2 American destinations that were represented and had a lot of very interesting discussions, which through that, we had site visits during spring training from the international softball director for Sweden. We had Baseball Australia, spent a lot of time in Lee County. In fact, they played 2 games against the Twins rookie team and played 1 game against the Red Sox rookies. We also had a visit from the Austrian Baseball Federation director. So we are starting to bring some international baseball and softball leadership into our community to see what we're about. And I think in a few years this will lead to some really unique pre-Olympic, pre-World Championship type training opportunities. And I'll wrap up really quickly with spring training. We had a killer spring training. It was incredibly successful for Lee County. We're waiting for the state's numbers to come out. I expect them any day. But you know, our indications is that we had the 2nd and 3rd highest attended teams in the Grapefruit League. Sit next to Mark Weber, and he said that the 8,067 daily attendance average for the Twins was the 2nd highest in their history. So by all accounts, Lee County had a phenomenal spring training season, and we appreciate everyone in this room who's been supportive of all of our sports tourism activities, and have it here for any questions.
Any questions for Jeff? Thank you. I see no new business. Everybody says, yay. Old business. I saw Pete come in.
Yep.
Morning, Pete. Pete's going to give us an update on the TDC reserve.
Good morning, committee members. Pete Winton, Assistant County Manager and Chief Financial Officer. I wanted to give you a status update on the Board of County Commissioners' desire to establish both a common reserve and minimum reserve policy for bed taxes. So this was the result of a work session the board had back in November 17th on VCB as one of the dedicated funding departments that they're having work sessions on, just to go over operating policies and fiscal policies that the board has jurisdiction over. And at that time, the board discussed and talked about a desire to have a common reserve, which they adopted that policy in December through a blue sheet before the Board of County Commissioners. And a couple of reasons for that was it provides consistency in the board's other reserves. The general fund is a common reserve, and it has a 20% minimum reserve level. And then any excess above that, the board tracks so that they can see what they have in case they have opportunities that come up. One of the caveats is that the tourist development tax revenues, those revenues, those funds would still be used only for the statutory purposes. So the board asked that we get with industry partners, and we did that in 2 stakeholder meetings in January and February. And the folks involved were Renee Fortit, Pam Cronin, Robert Wells, John Lai, Judy Zamamra, Jeannie Bigos, Chris Pendleton, Lydia Black, Lee Bellamy, Colleen DePasquale, and Jeff Webb. And while there was a split on the idea of a common reserve, there was general agreement that a minimum reserve policy should be about 20%, which is the same minimum reserve policy that the board has for its general fund reserves. So 20% of revenues, which this year estimated at $39 million, so that'd be a $7.8 million common reserve, 20%, and in future years, 20% of revenues with a minimum of not less than $7.8 million. So today I just wanted to give you the status update, answer any questions, take any additional input. The next steps would be to do some revisions to the ordinance to effectuate the board's policy.
Any comments from the TDC? Well, that's amazing. Oh, Jeff.
Well, the bottom line that the group came up on, which I mean, I was in that last meeting. Colleen and I kind of crashed it, but we weren't part of the committee originally. But the bottom line that group came up with was to put it all in this common reserve, and that's going to be the recommendation to go before the commission. Correct?
Correct. It would be a common reserve and then a minimum reserve policy of 20%, 7.8 million, and then in future years, no less than 7.8. So if it goes down, it would remain at 7.8 million minimum reserve. And then what we would do is we would calculate the excess above that 20% of minimum reserve each year, just like we do with general fund reserves. And then the board doesn't have any particular designs on that other than they do want to repay the final internal loan for that was made to the bed tax for the Twins land purchase. So, but other than that, then we just track that, and those reserves in excess can be used in any category at any time. And then we track, of course, just like with the general fund, you don't want to just ride that minimum reserve line. If you start to reduce reserves to that level, then you have to think of ways to make sure that you have an appropriate excess.
Then from those reserves, the total right now, there's I guess, the MSTU fund payback that we're talking about, that's coming out of the reserves right now.
That already happened.
That already happened. Then the CIP fund is what you're talking about now, the 4.28.
About 4.3 million, yes.
And then you'll also have this incremental digital campaign of 125 come out.
Correct.
So those three issues will come out as well.
Right. And that'd leave roughly $9 million in excess reserves. So you'd have your minimum reserve of 7.8 million and an additional 9 million roughly of excess reserves.
So Pete, so everybody's clear, this common reserve is a TDC common reserve that's only spent statutory purposes.
That's correct, only in the three existing categories.
Good. All right. Any other questions? Pete, thank you.
Thank you.
For council information.
There are a few articles in your packet. I'm not going to go through them, but just some reading that might be of interest to you.
All right. And we're getting toward the end. TDC member items. Anita, do you have anything for us?
Just thank you for that digital campaign. I noticed it almost immediately. Thank you. So did many other people.
Mike? Nothing? Jeff?
Just let you know that in addition to the Beach and Shoreline Workshop on the 28th at 1:30, there's also your Lee County Hotel Association meeting, which is going to be on that day as well at the Sanibel Harbor Marriott Resort. We were going to have Kevin Ruane be the speaker, but he could not make it, so we have a change. The Vice Mayor of Sanibel, Mick Dunham, will be the speaker for that day. So go to the website at LeeCountyHotelAssociation.com and reserve your spot if you don't want to go to the beach. Funding thing.
Other than the air service update, which I think got stalled over here, Tam.
I think they all went around.
They did over here, but they didn't.
Oh, sorry.
My apologies. That's okay. It just has to go this way. We did not have a meeting in March, so I don't have a report for March other than your air service, but there's some interesting things on that air service that you all might want to have. And that's it.
Two things. One, Chrysalis Awards are in May. They are on May 20th. We still have right? You're looking at me. Am I getting this correct? All right. May 20th is a Friday. We still have a few trade show booths available. The winners are all secured, so we are, but we'd love to have you guys join us for that event. And then, of course, if anybody knows me of a more personal nature, the Florida Everblades have made the playoffs again, and they start their, yeah, I like that playoff beard. So they start their first round of playoffs this weekend, so if you're looking for something to do, just keep an eye on those guys, because they should go all the way this year. That's great.
All right, so don't forget April 28th, Beach and Shoreline meeting here, and our TDC meeting will be here on May the 12th. And it's not, did you have something else? It's not quite 11 o'clock, so we are adjourned.